and welcome to the head-to-head.
Thank you very much for having me. Pleasure to be here.
It's all good. So, looking forward to the game Saturday. Obviously,
No.
been too long without football, so it's
it's one of those things where if we could have, I mean, obviously, we're recording this a couple of days before, and it's been a bit of a hectic day today in all West Ham news, and I think a lot of the fan base would have preferred, come the 7th of June. To maybe just shut up shop and just given up on the season because it's a bit of a horror show at the moment for us, it seems. So we'll see.
Well, let's get started anyway. And let's take a look at the two managers of the clubs.
Yep.
So the managers head to head. Obviously, this is Iriola's first season in the Premier League, so there's not much to go by. But Moisey, what's your thoughts on Moisey?
I mean, there's a strange dichotomy at West Ham, which is quite a long word for a West Ham fan to use. But there's obviously a huge sort of split in the fan base between Moyes in and Moyes out. I mean, there's no doubt in the last 3 years he's taken us from a side which was always competing for relegation. Was always one of the favourites until obviously last year. It wasn't a great league performance, but he'd got us into 6th and 7th in consecutive years, highest ever Premier League finishes. Really, I don't know whether Harry got 5th, but still, in terms of consecutive, he got us into Europe now 3 times in a row, which is the first time we've ever done that in our history. So to me, because of obviously what happened at the end of last season. In terms of winning the Europa Conference League, and the first thing we've won in 40 odd years, he earned the right for me to start the season. I think we don't owe anything to him, but I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on him very early on this season. If results don't happen, then I wouldn't be surprised if he's the set. Well, technically, is he the set? Would he be the second casualty? Because obviously Lopetegui's left, but the season hasn't started yet, so he could well be the first casualty of the season.
It's been an interesting one whether he would be the second, because is he the first or is he?
I don't. Well, I think from the kickoff of that, I mean, the season hasn't kicked off yet, so I think he would be the first managerial casualty of the season. I think if he doesn't start well. And that's within the first half dozen games, in all honesty, because the fan base will turn. The fan base is already turning, it seems, because of more people leaving the club than joining the club at the moment.
Yeah. So do you reckon there is any truth in the rumours then that he might be set to quit, or he might be even facing the sack? I mean,
I think, as I said, there was a rumour going around like before. Basically, as soon as the Conference League had finished, that he was going to leave on a high, but that turned out to not be a true rumour, as always happens. I think, to be honest, I don't think he'll walk out, because he'll walk away from £5 million. And even if you're a multi-millionaire, it's still a lot of money, £5 million. I think he's stubborn, so he'll stay, and it's a decision of the chairman whether it's right for him to make the change. In the summer, we've changed the way sort of the setup is. We brought in a director of football in terms of Tim Steindl from the Bundesliga, from Bayer Leverkusen. And so, there's a setup in getting in place for if these situations happen again, then you'd imagine Steindl would have a list of managers who are ready to fit into what he wants to achieve as well. At the moment, there's very much 2 parallels at West Ham. You've got the David Moyes way and the Tim Steindl way. Tim Steindl way is bringing in young players who we can, maybe not fully fledged young players, a bit like the Brighton sort of setup, where Moisey wants Premier League ready players. And the reason is because he's got 1 year left in his contract and he wants results. He knows any poor results and he's out in his ear. So, either or is more than possible, mate, to be honest. Either or, to be fair. We don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, I think Moisey is, when you look at his stats here, and he used to get Manager of the Month awards all the time before he went to United, and he was always. I think he will always be known for that sort of Everton stint, and obviously for this West Ham stint.
Yeah, I think now it was, as you're right, that the story was always his CV was always starts with Everton, wasn't it? It was always his spell at Everton, and now I think actually, to be honest, it's probably his spell at West Ham now. I mean, in terms
Yeah.
of what he's done and what he's achieved, it's the first silverware he's achieved in his career. So it's almost like if he was probably reminiscing in 10, 20 years' time, he'd probably start with the West Ham gig maybe, and then move on to Everton, and then talk about Man United and Sunderland and Real Sociedad.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, how much do you know about Mr. Iriola?
Not much at all, apart from he, as I said, the only thing I know about him was he managed Larnaca, and we played them in the Europa Conference League. So obviously that's it's very close to Iron Appa. But that is it. I do not know much about him at all. I know he was. I think several clubs were looking at him, weren't they? And
Yeah.
obviously from a few years in La Liga. And yeah, not much. He's very much an unknown quantity to me. But I mean, for you guys, I mean, was that obviously the appointment was relatively cutthroat, in my opinion? It seemed from out looking in terms of Gary O'Neill going and bringing him on straight away. But no, I haven't got much knowledge about him, in all honesty.
Mm. Well, yeah. Well, nor did any of the Bournemouth fans until till he joined. But yeah, he's from the Arteta, um, Emery sort of breed of managers, apparently.
Yeah,
And in comparison to Gary O'Neill, I don't know if you saw the games against us last season, especially the one at home,
yeah.
where we, under Gary O'Neill, we tend to sit back quite a bit, in my opinion, whereas the football is going to be completely different under this guy. From what
It,
we've seen so far,
yeah.
he's very high pressing, very, very attack minded. So it's going to be a different side to last time.
It's a similar situation with how we're the West Ham fan base is thinking at the moment. In all honesty, Moisey plays, we call it Moyes ball, within the sort of the West Ham fraternity. In terms of it is very much defensive first, keeping it tight and trying to hit on the counter attack with like an Antonio or a Jared Bowen or someone like that, and and it has been relatively successful, but it's pretty boring. And the fan base want a more expansive type of football. Basically, it sounds like you're going to get this season. That's what we really want as well. So, fair play to you. You did something about it.
Yeah, I mean, he's also a manager that sort of overperforms with the underdogs as well.
Nice.
So like last season, I think he picked up results against Barcelona and Real Madrid, if I'm not mistaken, from
Mm.
looking through his results. So yeah, it's going to be a very, very different game between two good clubs that obviously looking at starting the season on a high on Saturday.
Yeah,
So yes, that's a little bit on the two managers. There's one little thing I do want to ask about,
go for it.
and that is this guy. How do you
Oh,
solve a problem like Declan Rice leaving
he should not be named the former captain. I refuse to call him by his. I refuse to call him. We don't call him his name on the channel. He's he who should not be named the former captain.
the former captain?
Um, yeah, the former captain. Um, it's. I mean, there's no hiding the fact it's probably the biggest blow to our pre-season. Really, we knew it was going to happen. We probably knew it was going to happen for the last 18 months. In all honesty, he didn't sign a contract, an 8-year contract at 200 grand. We offered it to him 18 months ago, and he turned that down. And it's probably cost him the best part of £10 million not to sign that contract, because he could have signed that contract and carried on his way. But it was never about the money. Um, he was the lifeblood of West Ham in terms of the side. There's players. Every side has one of those players where when the chips are down, you need someone to get pull everyone up by their bootstraps, and he was that person. Um, Obviously, he's gone to. I think if he'd gone to any other club outside of London, I think the fan base wouldn't have turned on him as much.
Hmm.
He made a declaration that he wanted to sign, pardon the pun, that he wanted to go to a club which would win things.
Yeah.
And he's gone to the biggest chokers in the league in my eyes. And so, well, technically, he has won the Community Shield. Well done on a penalty shootout, but he got taken off after. I'm not bitter about it at all. Can you tell? But yeah, if he'd gone to a Man City or something like that, I think fans would have gone, yeah, fair enough. He's gone to, and obviously you can't guarantee anything in football, but Man City is pretty much a guarantee you're going to win something. It's took a long time, protracted time to get the deal done. West Ham of old would have probably sold him for about 60 million. First offer done, off you go. But to be fair, they held out for over 100 million and 105 million pounds. Was the deal, making him the 7th most expensive player ever in history. You can't complain of that money. And maybe by the time we turn up at the Vitality, we'd have spent 95 million of that on 3 players, potentially in the squad for the game on Sunday. So, Saturday rather. So, we swapped 3 players for 1. It's a massive hole. It's a massive former captain shaped hole. And it's going to probably change the way we play, really, which isn't a bad thing. Sometimes, sometimes sides, you get yourself, you get like a star player and the side relies on that star player, and then that star player leaves and the team becomes maybe a bit more together. I am clutching at straws. I grant that. But, I always look at every positive, and, it might mean that Thomas Souček plays a different role and plays more with less inhibition, for example. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But hopefully it's only taken 55 days before we sign a bloody player. So, we've only got 20 odd to go, and apparently we're going to sign 6. So Christ knows how that works out. But yeah, apparently so. Apparently so. Well, as I said, by the time we turn up on Saturday, we in theory could have 3 new players on our side.
Yeah. Well, on that note, let's have a quick discussion about the summer transfer window.
That's
far.
it. There's a discussion finished. Our summer transfer has been awful.
Yes, I mean, especially when you've made 100 million, you would expect some reinvestment, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, we sold here. Should not be named the former captain for 105 million pounds. We sold our Italian number 9 striker to Atalanta for 27 million quid. We've sold Nikola Vlasic, who was on loan last year, back to Torino for 10 million quid. We've got rid of the likes of Lanzini. He's gone. Didn't renew his contract. Probably by the time we play you guys, Aaron Cresswell's gone.
Really?
And to Wolves. Potentially Antonio could even go to Wolves. Wolves or Celtic are looking at him. Obviously your former manager will be over there, and apparently he's taking loads of our players with him to Wolves, and possibly Lucas Paqueta could be out the door by then as well. So
yes. I've seen that just this evening. But what about this guy? Is this done or?
Apparently, well, obviously we're recording this on Wednesday. I've been told that he's announced officially tomorrow. He's had the medical. Again, sort of this weird way of working with transfers. Now we've already agreed personal terms before we actually agreed the fee. I don't know how that's tapping up. I've always thought, but we've done that. So excited. He is I mean, Alvarez, Mexican international, he is a CDM by trade. That is what he does. He's not a box to box. He's not, fully. He's not, attacking midfielder. He will sit in front of the back 3 or back 4 and just marshal and get yellow cards and get into tackles, and is a bit of a terrier of a player. So I'm really looking forward to that. He's had the medical. He flew over in a private jet. Our technical director was sitting behind him on the jet, and there was pictures of him, so making sure that he was over here safe and no one hijacked it. Literally, if you've seen the Apple TV show, anything's possible. So I'm really excited to see him. He's part of the puzzle. There's another few or 3 pieces we need, but as I said, he could sign tomorrow. So technically, if he's had a decent pre-season, he's fit, he could go into the squad for Saturday. And that's alongside Harry Maguire, who we've had a £30 million bid accepted today as well. And as I said, yeah, JWP as well. We've had a £30 million accepted bid. So, you know, 2 England internationals, 60 million quid seems about 10-15 million pounds too much for me. But look, we need some. You know, I think Maguire comes in, and I think he changes the way we play. I think, you know, we tend to play 4 at the back. I think when Maguire comes in, we play 3 at the back now. And
Right. Okay.
yes, so going back to sort of what Moyes first started doing when he came to West Ham, he went to 3 at the back to shore up that defence. It's been quite leaky in
Mhm.
the last year or so. So yeah, I mean, it's look, you know, we sold 1 player, we got 3 in, and 3 good players. And it's a start. It's a start. We need something new, something different, because it's very much doom and gloom at West Ham. Coaches have left, and players want to leave. Players have left already, and we just need a bit of a boost. We need a bit of a boost to the fan base.
Yeah. Is there anybody else that's linked? That
Oh, literally. I mean, on the channel, we obviously any rumor we put out on the channel, and we've been linked with 138 players this transfer window.
138.
Yeah, we beat last year's record. Last year was linked with 130. So, you know, we've done well. We've still 2 weeks to go. Yeah, 138. I think in terms of deals, I mean, I think we'll if Cresswell goes, we will get Ian Marston from Chelsea, the left wing back. I
Oh
think
yeah.
he'll come in. He'll be good. And we still need a striker. And whether it's Florian Balogun from Arsenal or I don't know. You know, we've linked with so many players.
Mm.
Um, you know, you're trying to find your head from the clouds. I still think we might go in for someone like a Conor Gallagher potentially. He's someone we were looking at, particularly if Lucas Paqueta goes. We will
Mhm.
need to replace him. We also linked with the French midfielder Youssef Fofana, the 24-year-old French international, and I really like him, so I'd like to get him, please, Mr. Tim Steinden. But yeah, it's sort of like we don't. Yeah, I mean, as I said, up to 6 play. I mean, they were looking at 6 to 7 players. So I think we still need a left wing. We still need someone on pace. We were meant to be signing the Man City youngster Carlos Borges, and that was all done and dusted. But then Ajax came in the last minute and pinched him off us. We missed out on Harvey Barnes.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
I really wanted the guy that Cherries, the left back that you guys got. Because obviously we played with him, we played against him we played Alkmaar in the Europa Conference League, and I was always very impressed with him. And actually, if rumours meant to be believed, when you get Max Aarons from Norwich, by the
Yeah.
sounds of it, I'm gutted because I wouldn't mind that bit of that action as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've done quite well. We need 2 new fullbacks. So anyway,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know who else, whether you've seen who else we've signed, but our
yeah,
summer transfer window currently looks like this. Obviously, there's a lot of other rumoured players as well, but these are the 3 solid players that we've signed. Don't know if you know much about the goalkeeper Radu. Um, he,
I know of him, but not
yeah,
really much.
he could be easily a number 1.
Yeah,
He's a quality keeper, but
is he on loan or did you buy him outright?
he's on loan
Yeah,
with view to a permanent transfer
gotcha.
come the end of the season. I think the club will decide what they do with Travers, possibly.
Yeah,
And if this guy fits in, then I think it might be a case of possibly selling Travers on to make space for this guy to come in permanently, possibly.
sure.
But I've seen him playing a couple of friendlies, and he looks pretty decent, very good with his feet as well.
Cool.
Then we've got a certain Mr. Clivert.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
wish
From Roma.
wish he wish he scored as many goals as his dad, but um, he looks an exciting prospect. So in terms of how Iraola wants to play, he's going to fit in superbly. And the guy that you've just touched on,
Yeah,
Kirkes,
yeah,
um, he's the one that excites me the
yeah.
most.
Me too.
Um, he is phenomenal. Um,
Yeah.
Getting back in terms of defending, he's quality, but his attacking is absolutely sublime. And I think, and I'm hoping, he causes you guys some real problems on Saturday.
We kept him out when we played out at Alkmaar back in the Europa Conference League. So we'll see. But no, I was gutted because he was when they were talking, because he's only like 19, 20,
Yeah.
and he was unavailable for the first leg at the
Hmm.
London Stadium, but and actually that whole left side for Alkmaar were unavailable, so they brought them all back for the second leg, and it looked like a completely different side. It was him and Jasper Karlsson, they called him the Swedish Neymar. He was playing on the left wing, and Cherries was doing a lot of overlapping. And
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
19 as well, so no fear really for a young lad.
I mean, for someone so young as well. I mean, I don't know if
Yeah.
you know much about him, but actually, Paolo Maldini actually personally phoned him and asked him to join AC Milan. So if Paolo Maldini gives you a call,
Good enough for
you've
Maldini, good enough for Vitality.
got and also, like we've just spoke about, yeah, this guy. I think he
Yeah.
will. I mean, for us in terms of our right backs, we've got Adam Smith, long serving right back, and also a guy that you'll know well, Ryan Fredericks.
Oh, Flash.
Yeah, great player, Fredericks, but he can never seem to stay fit, can he?
Nope, he can never seem fit, but he's the fastest player I have ever.
Yeah,
He's so fast,
yeah,
and we've really missed him, and just that pace, just that if you need someone to just chase a game. We used to play him quite a lot right wing back, or even push him up to right wing sometimes, just to try and give us a bit more pace on the right hand side. I was gutted when he left because he was a really good squad player for us. But I see, 7 million for Max Aarons, considering originally I thought Norwich were quoting about 30 million for him originally. So I don't know how the hell they got for 7 million quid. I know it's 12 with add-ons, but still, add-ons never really count, do they really?
no.
7 is absolute steal, and I'll be surprised. I know it's all been sort of agreed. I'm surprised if no one else tries to pounce that one.
Yeah,
So because it is such a good deal.
yeah,
Anyone from probably even the Championship upwards. I know Leeds obviously after, but you think like Leicester and even like us were after a right back, and there's lots of teams who need young fullbacks, and he sort of covers the brief really. I think for sure.
yeah, yeah. Well, I'm hoping we will be seeing him in the Bournemouth shirt very shortly because yeah, because with Smith and Fredericks, we just can't seem to keep a fit right back at the minute. So
Yeah.
he would definitely be a great addition. Um, so we've touched on the strikers with West Ham. Danny Ings, is he the answer to your goal scoring problems?
Nah.
No, I said the
No.
same when he signed.
It's not. I mean, to be honest, I mean he's a great. He's been playing. I mean, pre-season he's been playing really well, and the club have been really bigging him up in terms of the post-match interviews,
Hmm.
which now in retrospect means that he's probably they knew they were going to sell some Skamaka. They knew poor Antonio's going to go, so actually putting him front and centre. Obviously, he's had a hair transplant as well in the summer, £17,000 hair transplant. So I don't know how he can still header a ball because I didn't think he was allowed to do that for several weeks. But he did look very funny coming back from from pre-season. I mean, he's looked sharp. I mean, he's a good squad player, but just the way we play, he never was going to fit. And it's the same with our strikers. We've had, I think, including Ings, I think we've signed 51 strikers since the current ownership took over in 2010, and something like 31 of them never scored for West Ham. And it just seems for some reason when we come to strikers, it always sort of falls over itself. I mean, our two most successful strikers in the last 15 years have both been converted right wingers. So Arnautovic and Antonio. We've had some really good strikers. Sebastian Haller, who obviously just couldn't do it at West Ham, went to Ajax, smashed it, went to Dortmund, obviously got ill, but then still smashed it. Skamaka's going to go back to Italy. I think he actually scored in his debut on his his debut pre-season today. So he's going to get goals wherever he goes. He's a really good player. Just never worked out. He started off on the wrong foot and then it never really happened. But he was a hell of a player. We haven't got. I mean, our only sort of decent striker for a Moyes situation is our young lad we've got who's 18, Divine Mbama, who has been smashing it in the under-21s and the 18s, had a few run-outs last season, and this could be his breakout season this year for West Ham. But still, we've still got 20 odd days left in terms of the transfer window.
Yeah.
We'll bring in another striker who's not going to score. That's what we'll
Yeah.
do.
Well, I mean, you've been linked to this guy.
Yeah. Yes. Solanke. Yeah. Strange one.
It's all the same.
Yeah, it's a strange one. Again, tall. He's quick. He does a lot of what I call pointless running. Yeah, but I mean, Antonio does it. Carlton Cole
Yeah.
used to do it.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Those pointless running. And Moyes likes that. Moyes likes players who do pointless running, running down the channels. I mean, we know he's quick. Obviously, you guys rebuffed that pretty sharpish. And yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Now we've had like out and out strikers who haven't worked, and I just think you just need to buy the right player for the formation. And the only trouble is, if we're buying all these players now for the David Moyes formation, if it doesn't start well, and say I don't know, he goes after 6-10 games in charge, something like that, a new manager comes in with a midfield that is got Souček, it's got JWP. It's not the most sort of dynamic midfield, and nowadays everyone wants a dynamic midfield, and we haven't got it. So we could be up a shit creek without a paddle, regardless of what happens with if a new manager did come in. But I mean, I've liked Solanke. He always turns up and plays well against us. Same as when you always used to, when Callum Bloody Wilson was playing for you guys, he'd always score against us. But yeah, I mean, look, I don't, after our signing of Craig Dawson, I don't turn my nose up to any signing now, because Craig Dawson came in as an absolute joke, and Watford fans were absolutely laughing that they'd got rid of their worst player, and he turned out to be a cult hero. And Moisey, in all honesty, when you look at his signings, he's only had really one duff one, I would say. Jordan Hugo, when we signed him from Preston North End for £10 million, which is a bit dodgy, seemed to me. But all the others, when he buys these players, these little waifs and strays, the Jesse Lingards, the Craig Dawsons, these type of players, they all seem to put shifts in. And maybe Solanke would have done the same if you wanted to sell him to us, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen.
No. I mean, do you think he would really be the answer for West Ham, or do you need someone completely different?
I think we need someone. And I don't actually think we know what we want. I don't think you can go out and buy I don't know, someone like Patson Daka from Leicester. It's completely different to Antonio, but actually the way we're set up is the same as trying to throw Danny Ings into a side, which the whole idea, the whole way we play is we have Antonio up front, basically abusing the centre backs and just bullying and using his weight and running down the channels, and that's not what Danny Ings does. So why? So it wouldn't work. So I don't think we know what will work. I always have thought we would end up getting Harvey Barnes, and then Moyes would have converted him into a striker, because that's the best way it seems to get the best strikers out of West Ham, is to buy wingers and convert them, like he did with Antonio, like he did with Arnautovic as well. So I don't know. I genuinely don't know what's going on.
Well, staying with the Bournemouth and West Ham theme,
Yeah.
we're going to try something a little bit different that we ain't tried before.
Nice.
But obviously, there's a lot of connections between the two clubs over the years, loads and loads. But how many can you name that played for both?
Oh, okay, nice. Played for both. Steve Jones.
Right, yeah.
But you haven't got him there. It's old Jonesy, friend of the channel, who played for both. Obviously, we had Flash. Flash played for both. Ryan Fredericks. Oh God,
there's a lot of players. I mean, this guy, for example.
Yeah.
Junior.
Yeah. Julian, Julian. He was great for it. It was. He was one of those ones where you have some sort of youth team players who you really want to progress, and Julian and Stanislas was just brilliant. I thought he was really good. He was. I really liked him as a player. Fast, direct, and yeah, just never got the best out of him. Never got the best out of him.
Yeah. But, I mean, for us, I mean, he was a fantastic player,
Yeah,
especially in the early days when we first got into the Premier League. But towards the end of his career, again, you know, he was hampered by injuries, unfortunately. So the last couple of seasons, we haven't seen the best of him. But yeah, great player for Bournemouth, and yeah, I didn't realise he played as many games for West Ham as he did. So
yeah, no, he did. I mean, there was as you said, there was a whole group of them, really. You know, Zavon Hines and people like
oh
that
yeah,
who played for both, and and yeah, it's didn't did David James play for Bournemouth once?
yeah, I think he might
Yeah.
pop up in a minute.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Oh
Harry
no,
Redknapp.
oh, yeah. Obviously, you got the Redknapp connection.
Yeah, yeah.
Manager and player for both.
Yeah.
This guy,
Yeah, didn't play a lot of games for West
no,
Ham.
no,
Matty Holland, mainly more of a youth team player, but yeah, again, one of the ones who you probably didn't. You should have broken out a little bit more for us.
good player. There he is.
Jonesy, friend of the channel, big friend. Love Jonah.
Yeah, I mean, this guy when I was a kid was a hero of mine, I must say. One
We'll,
of the
we'll,
best strikers to play for Bournemouth.
we'll chat afterwards, and I'll give you his number, and we'll see, get him on for you. He's
Oh,
great. I love
oh yeah,
Jonesy.
he's an absolute hero of mine,
Yeah,
Jonesy.
brilliant.
Love the guy.
Love him.
I don't know if you'll remember this
Paul
name.
Mitchell. Yeah, I remember Paul Mitchell. Yeah, not one in my. Was it sort of in my era, Paul Mitchell? But yeah, no, he also, I think he played a lot more games for you guys than he did for us, if I
Yeah,
remember correctly. I think he probably played like one game.
yeah.
I think he was involved in the Keith Rowland deal.
I believe so. Yes, because he's
Yeah,
been on our channel. Paul, nice guy.
yeah,
Just was hampered by injuries. Bless him.
yeah.
He now actually does a lot of. He's like a statistician. He's at Dean
Nice,
Court every week. Does all stats and stuff.
cool.
But yeah, great guy, Paul. Lovely guy. Obviously Rio
Yeah,
come on loan at Bournemouth. What can't you say about Rio?
it's like, I mean, Bournemouth's like one of those destinations, isn't it? Where we tend to always, particularly of old, always loaned players to you guys.
Yeah,
Like I know I may imagine Jermain's coming up and things later on, but yeah,
yeah. There's quite a few.
Ted McDougall, yeah,
Ed, obviously, well, goal scoring sensation. Mr. Fredericks, who
yeah,
we've briefly touched on. Jermain,
yeah,
um, he was class. I mean, the second time round he played for us didn't really work out.
no,
But the first time, what an
oh
absolute
yeah.
genius of a player,
Did he
even
get
at
like?
his age.
Did he get like the record for the most goals scored in consecutive games or something like
Yeah,
that?
it was 10 in a row.
Wow.
But I think there was some debate. They reckon someone had scored 11 in a row, so there was some debate about it. But
Wasn't
yeah,
it Pele? Was it Pele who scored 11? I think it was the debate or something like that.
there was some crazy debate at the time. I can remember it vaguely, but yeah, 10 consecutive games at any level is pretty impressive. But yeah, class player.
Yeah.
Um,
Carl Fletcher. God, he got us out of a hole.
yeah, he got us out of a hole many a time as well.
Yeah.
Played in the cup final for you, didn't he?
Played in the FA Cup final because Hayden Mullins got in a fight with Julia Garcia the day we played Liverpool in the final, and we played them like a week before in the league, and they both got sent off.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so yeah, that's why he played in the cup final.
Ah. Now this is a strange one.
Amos Foy, I don't remember him.
Yeah, he was in the youth team.
Yeah, it must have been.
Yeah, youth team around the same time as a couple of others like Stephen Purchase, Del
Yeah,
Gordon.
Dale Gordon scored the first ever Premier League goal at West Ham. I think that was his only goal he scored at West Ham.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he scored the first. So in our history, the first ever Premier League goal was scored by Dale Gordon.
Oh,
We
right.
bought from
Okay.
Rangers at the time, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember him playing at Rangers, but yeah, never knew that. So you
Yeah,
learn something new every day. Wasn't really a success at Bournemouth. He come in as player coach, but he wasn't there for very long.
yeah.
Here's an interesting one.
Oh, Manny on a minimi. Manny bloody on a minimi. So thick, he didn't realise he'd already played for a club in the cup competition. for us.
Oh yes,
We were in the League Cup. It was the quarterfinals against Aston Villa. He came on, Harry Boyle on for like the last 5 minutes. I think I don't think he even touched the ball. But it turned out he'd played when he was on loan to Gillingham in a
that's right.
previous round, and then we had to replay the game and obviously lost it. Yeah, and I think that 3 or 4 staff lost their job
Oh
because it was
really?
like all admin. But surely you'd asked to play it. Did you play in the cup? I don't know
Yeah,
why. Yeah,
I do vaguely remember that now.
Matty Holmes. Oh, I love Matty, friend of the channel. I love Matty. He was a lovely guy and speaks very highly of you guys. And
Yes.
Zavon, top man as well. Obviously, Zavon's still involved in the club.
Oh, was he?
So every age in terms of the academy, every age group has a West Ham player as a coach. And
Oh right.
Zavon's one.
Okay.
I think I don't know, under 14s or 15, something like that. Zavon's involved with top man. Top man is Zav.
Oh really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Matty as well.
Oh, I love him.
Yeah, great personality, Matty. Uh,
Ah, ah, true friend of the channel, Bish Bosh.
is
Love the
he?
man. Yeah, love him. Love him. He lives in Florida.
Yes.
And we've had him on. Well, I can't remember how many times, but I love Bish. He's a
Yeah.
lovely man. Lovely.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I never got to see him play. A little bit before my time, but
Yeah.
at Bournemouth. But from what I hear from my old man, apparently he was absolute class for
Oh, ahead
Bournemouth.
of his time. Ahead of his time,
Yes.
man.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Stephen Purchase, who touched on
Yeah.
briefly earlier.
Yeah.
Now obviously assisting Eddie Howe at Newcastle.
Yeah.
Scott Mean.
Got me. Bought the man with a broken leg.
Yes.
Only clubs ever buy someone who's broken his leg or something. Typical
Yeah.
West Ham. It was that sort of weird Harry Redknapp era where he used to buy Bournemouth players to help Bournemouth out, I think, more than anything.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, very strange signing that was. Didn't get a look in at all at West Ham.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't think he played many, if at all. Did he really?
No, I don't think actually he may have got like some pre-seasons, but I don't remember making a league appearance. In all honesty.
Stephen
Stephen
Henderson.
Henderson,
Yeah.
yeah, the goalkeeper.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he came on loan for a little bit, and apparently Keith Miller. I don't know if you remember that one, but I mean we're going back way back here.
I think Keith
70s.
probably. I think he only played like 3 games. It was like in the 60s. He played for late 60s, I think.
60s.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, David James.
JMO, yeah.
Yeah. I think he's famous for saying at Bournemouth he had the most politest sacking he ever had by Eddie Howe when when Eddie Howe come in. I think he let him 4 goals in a game
Love him.
somewhere, and Eddie Howe just politely said, "You're never playing in any of my teams again."
Fair enough.
That was the end of JMO. But yeah, he was at West Ham for quite a while, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. He played a few years at West Ham. He was in the side where we went down on 42 points.
Okay.
With the likes of, and the previous season we finished 7th. And in the team we had Joe Cole captain, Michael Carrick, Jermain Defoe. We had a cracking side,
Mm.
but he ended up going down with 42 points.
Yeah. Well, that's a while ago.
Yeah,
Mr.
Rando.
Randolph.
Yeah, Randy.
Yeah.
Good.
Technically hasn't played for us yet.
He's a good player. Good.
Yeah.
A good team player as well. He seems to be a really good character around the dressing room. Obviously, he played for us in 2 spells. He played sort of the first spell when him and sort of Adrian were sort of competing for they were sort of almost almost 2 good goalkeepers, like proper battle for the number 1 shirt. And then he came back as a reserve team keeper. For in terms of against Fabianski and stuff. But no, great man. Great. I like Randolph. Got a lot of time for him.
Yeah. He seems a good character. Keith
Lovely
Rowland.
man. Keith, friend of the channel, lovely man. Post
No.
off. He lives around here. I mean, we've on the channel we've had over 100 ex-players on the channel.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah. So I mean, Keith lives around where I live. He's a postman, and lovely bloke. Often bump into him in Sainsbury's.
Oh,
But yeah, I love Keith. He's that sort of part of that generation, that sort of mid-90s generation who I really had a lot of respect for. As my sort of era. But yeah, was part of the side which stopped Man United winning the league one year. So there we go.
wow. And Bobby Howe, that way before probably both of our times.
Yeah, that would have been 60s just by looking at the shirt. That would have been 60s, I'd imagine. And I mean, he probably played, I think Bobby played about 80 games for West Ham. But if I
Yeah.
remember, it's probably I think it was, so he would have played with Bobby Moore and Jeff Hurst. I think he actually, I think if I remember, Bobby Howe was, I want to say, and if someone's watching this who's a West Ham fan, they'd definitely know. I want to say probably about, I think he started in 66 or 65 season. So that was like our golden era, sort
Oh
of
yeah.
that sort of mid
Yeah.
60s. Obviously, we won the World Cup as well, but we'd won sort of FA Cup and European Cup winners' glory in between that as well. So, but yeah, I think he was there for half a dozen seasons.
Ah. Jimmy
Jimmy
Quinn.
Quinn, friend of the channel, love Jimmy. Still,
Oh really?
still involved in the club, like Jonesy. They're both what we call club ambassadors.
Oh,
So we have about a dozen, about a dozen ex-players, and they do all the lounges, all the corporates, and Jimmy's one. So is Jonesy.
ah, right. Yeah, that's a classic retro kit he's got on there. That I
Yeah,
mean, West Ham had some great kits over the years, I've got to say.
we
Which
did. And we've gone back to that sort of. You'll probably see us because that sort of that Jimmy Quinn with the sort of the grand sort of the sort of the collar and the white shirt. That's very much reminiscent of our away shirt this year.
oh okay.
With the so it is quite a nice sort of throwback. But it's a little bit smarter than that one was, I have to say.
Yeah, it's because our home shirt this season's got the grandad collar, so it's quite nice to see a bit of retro in these modern
Nice,
shirts
yeah,
coming
agree.
out now. And
Jack, I love Jack, friend of the channel. No, I love Jack. He's a dude. He's currently manager at Huntsville,
ah,
over in the one below the MLS. He was Atlanta United B team manager, and then he's at Huntsville now. But yeah, I love Jack. Again, blighted by injury, but what a player.
yeah, yeah,
Proper West Ham fan as well. So we love that.
proper West Ham boy. And again,
He's
lovely shirt there, I've got to say.
Yeah, it's a nice. That was the Adidas era. That was really. We had
Yeah,
some really nice kits.
yeah,
Really nice kits under Adidas.
yeah,
Although
it
not
is.
so many other sponsors. We had, I mean, you got Alpari, they soon went under. We had about 4 or 5 sponsors in quick succession who were like trading companies or airlines
Oh, I
and
remember XL, wasn't it?
Excel, yeah. And we every sort of they'd go into receivership and we'd have to get patches on the top of them. And yeah, it was a funny
Yeah,
part of a very funny era in terms of West Ham shirts. And
obviously,
Danny,
Mr. Danny. Yeah, I mean, when he started at Bournemouth as a youngster, you could tell he was going to go far in the game.
yeah,
But I didn't ever expect him to really well get to Liverpool's level.
yeah.
To be fair, but apparently the Liverpool spoke very highly of him. So
Yeah, I mean, he seems a very good, like a very, a consummate professional, as they say.
mhm,
So no, I think it's just one of those, he's one of those things. It's getting in, being in the right system,
yeah,
and there's no doubt he can score goals. He does run about quite a lot, to be fair. But he just doesn't have just that yard of pace which we need.
mm, yeah. Ah,
Anthony
last
Edgar, yeah,
yeah, I remember him being on loan. I think it was our -17 season when we were rock bottom of League Two, all those years ago. But yeah, I mean, there's plenty more. I mean, there's some I've like missed off there. Obviously,
well,
Jack
technically,
Wilshere,
I mean Gary O'Neill as
Gary
well.
O'Neill connected. Even a player like I don't know if this name will ring any bells, but Terrell Forbes.
Yeah, Terrell Forbes. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. He was part of
yeah,
the '99 Youth Cup winning side, FA Youth Cup winning side, which Joe and Michael Carrick, they were all in that sort of youth team, and
mm,
Terrell was in there as well, with a few others. Yeah, we had them. We had like a bunch of them on recently because obviously we won the FA Cup Youth Cup for the first time since
yes,
that year.
yeah.
So we had like sort of friends reunited type show, which was quite fun.
Oh, excellent. Well, we could be here all night talking about previous players that have
Well,
played for
it
both.
means the season doesn't start yet, so it's okay. So we can carry it. Yeah,
Well, let's get back onto this weekend's fixture
yep.
then. So, we asked you for basically 3 players that are going to be very, very key on Saturday for West Ham.
And
You picked these 3,
one's gonna leave already. So
and one. Well, as it stands, is the
as it
it's
stands at the time of recording, yeah.
yeah. Why have you picked these three?
For sort of three different reasons. If we start with Naif, obviously he should not be named the former captain. We haven't got a captain.
Oh,
We
you
don't know who
haven't.
the captain is. We don't know who the captain is. He
Oh,
was the
right.
captain. Maybe Mr. Maguire or Mr. JWP will be captain, but I don't really agree with buying a player in straight away and then making them captain.
Mm-hmm.
Naif is a natural successor. He speaks 4 languages. He's a
Ah,
fantastic centre back. And he was someone we very, very much missed in the first half of last season. He got injured in pre-season, and that was him done just before the World Cup. And obviously, he had a great World Cup for Morocco, where they got to the quarterfinal, the semi-finals rather. And I think this year, with a full pre-season behind him, you'll see a hell of a player. So he's what we need. You know, he's quick, he's fast, he reads the game well, covers sort of the left. If you're playing a back three, he'll cover the space left by Emerson behind him very well. Great player, love him. Jared Bowen, he'll be probably the only one who's going to bring any bloody goals this season, if we sell all our strikers. But he started to return to form at the end of last season, and a good season at West Ham could see him get back his England squad in time for the Euros. I think he's I mean, just a side note on Naif, he's literally had a baby. His wife had a baby a day or so ago. It's a bit of a running joke at West Ham. Last year, I think we had 3 or 4 people have babies, and then they were shit for like 2 or 3 weeks after that, i.e., they didn't have any sleep. So you've probably picked at the right time. At least Byron had the decency. Byron's wife, or Byron's girlfriend, Danny Dyer, had the decency to have kids during the close season. So he's had that sort of sleepless night. So thanks, Danny, for that. But Byron is, he's our only outlet at the moment, in all
yeah.
honesty. And Lucas Paqueta, I mean, being subjectively, he probably didn't properly turn up until February. It took him a long time to he had like bits and starts. And it was April, probably from sort of February onwards, that he was consistent, and you saw what he could do. He's like a proper West Ham player. He's tricky. He's got skill, but the thing is, he almost wants to do too much. He wants to be everywhere. He wants to be, taking tackles. He wants to play as a 6. He wants to play as an 8. He wants to play as a 10. Which is why I don't know why he would go to City, because they would give him like a spot, and that's your spot. Where at West Ham, he sort of has carte blanche to do anything, really. He's a great player. Hopefully, we won't sell him, and if he does go, he'll go next year when his the release clause kicks in at the end of next summer. So he'll go. So hopefully Man City won't buy him now, and they'll buy him next summer for £85 million, so we can prepare for that. But he's brilliant, and he's the only creativity we have in that midfield, and we desperately need something to start to pass the ball around. Otherwise, he does lose the ball quite a bit because he's trying things. But I rate. So those are my 3 picks of not necessarily to beat the Cherries, but ones to watch for Saturday.
Yeah. But then again, it could all change, because there could be 3 to 6 new signings in the squad by Saturday.
There could well be,
it could all
which
change.
is a microcosm of the West Ham at the moment, in terms of, everything changes 24 hours before. So this time yesterday, we were all optimistic. We were signing a new player. We heard that other bids were coming through, and then we woke up this morning to the news about Paqueta wanting, Man City wanting Paqueta, and we're back down to earth again. It seems we go 1 step forward and 6 steps back, and the fan base isn't getting very happy. So it will be, if things don't go well on Saturday, it will get very hostile very, very quickly with West Ham fans, in all honesty, particularly the away fans.
Yeah. Well, I've picked these 3 players that I think would be key to beat you guys. Kirkes, obviously, like we've previously said, with his attributes on that left side. Also, David Brooks. For me, he's been on fire during pre-season, and I'm
Good to
sure.
see him back. Good to see him
Yeah,
back as well, isn't it?
yeah, and he's now back to his old self.
Brilliant.
He's scored quite a few goals in pre-season, so I think he's going to be one of the first names on the team sheet come Saturday. And Marcus Senesi,
Good. Yeah.
he's actually been deployed in a sort of holding midfield over pre-season. It's normally a centre back, and he's looked pretty good in that role. and also whipping balls in. I mean, he set up Kiefer Moore for a goal against Lorente last week from playing in that position. So whether he's playing centre back or whether he's playing in that sort of midfield position, I think he's going to be pretty key. But that's the three Bournemouth players anyway. I think will be key to beating you guys. I could pick a striker, but I'm not too sure on whether Kiefer or Don would be the right one man to pick. To be fair, but just to tie up before we finish off, one last thing we better do the score prediction.
Oh God. Yeah. Okay. Do you know what? These when it comes to West Ham, we're quite. It's when the chips are down. Because at the moment all the chips are down, it seems, and the West Ham and this is when Moyes sometimes comes into his element when it's like the world's against us. So last year we had several games where it was widely believed if we'd lost a game, Moyes was out, and it's always those games that he manages to get over the line. He finds a way to get a draw or to nick a win. I think again, if we look at the side that could start on Saturday, we've signed no one now, then I think if we come out of a draw, we've done very, very well. If, however, here we've got Maguire, JWP, and Alvarez in the team, I think we could get a win there. We could get a win there. So for me, it really does. It's really tricky to look at it at the moment because 24 hours the side will look completely different. So at the moment, as it stands today, we will be lucky to get, if we get a draw, it's a great result. Come tomorrow, end of play tomorrow, maybe Friday before midday, hopefully. We could scrape a 1-0. Because that's the way we're going to go. We're going to be boring to watch this season if those come in. We're going to try and, like what we did the first 2 years under Moyes' stewardship, we kept it tight and then we got a set piece or we got a breakaway goal. When you've got possibly the best set piece taker in the Premier League in JWP coming in with someone like Maguire, 6'4", plus you've got Zuma, Aguerd, Thomas Souček. We have got some big boys, and we just couldn't get the delivery in last season. So we will probably going back to type. So we could nick one, but you guys are going to be playing expansive football, and we might not be able to keep up with the ball. And so, look, it's going to be a fascinating game. It's going to be a great game.
Yeah, and it's always one of the hardest games of the season to predict, isn't it? The first game of the season.
The first two or three game weeks, it's open season. You'll get Luton and Sheffield United and Burnley will be probably not Burnley because they got City, but they'll be they'll be sort of plucky, and their first home games will be probably going to lose. The team they're going to beat, the team they're going to play against. It always happens, but after about 5 or 6 games, you sort of shake out those sort of pre-seasons, and obviously window will have closed by then as well. Then you sort of have some idea of who's going where and what's doing what. But yeah, I'm always an optimistic West Ham fan. I'm finding it increasingly hard, I'll be honest, to be optimistic sometimes. And they finally ground me down after 43 years. But yeah, new season, start again, fresh start, new page. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. But I think, now those new names are being chucked in there. It's kind of making me a bit like yourself. I think if we were going into the game with today's squads, I think with the way we've been playing recently, I reckon we'd be able to nick a win. But add those names to it, it could be all completely different. So I'm going to settle on a draw.
Seems good. Seems fair enough.
Yeah, for that. So, but yeah. Anyway, thanks for joining us tonight, Russ. It's been great. It's been great to reminisce about past West Ham and Cherries players, and it's been great to look forward to the first game of the season with you.
Yeah, and good luck for the rest of the season after Saturday.
Yeah, and the same to you. Yeah, definitely. Right, yeah, cool.